Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zolotech, and today Apple released iOS 27 Beta 4. iOS 27 Beta 4 is currently available to developers on all iOS 27 supported devices. iOS 27 Public Beta 2, which should be the same as Beta 4 if there's no additional issues, should be out by the time you're watching this video, or hopefully sometime tomorrow. This particular update came in at 5.24 gigabytes, that's on the iPhone 17 Pro Max, and was released alongside many other updates, with iPadOS 27 Beta 4, macOS 27 Golden Gate Beta 4, tvOS and HomePodOS 27 Beta 4, visionOS 27 Beta 4, and watchOS 27 Beta 4. We also got iOS 26.6 RC releases along with all the other updates that go along with that as well. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the build number and talk about what's new. So we'll go to Settings, then we'll go back to General, then Software Update, wait for it to load, tap on More Details, then tap on the version number. And as you can see, the build number is 24A5390F. And this particular build does seem to resolve quite a few bugs and has some new features. Now, if you're on an iPhone 17 Pro Max or iPhone 17, it doesn't seem to have a modem update, but older iPhones, such as the iPhone 16 Pro, do seem to have an update. So you may or may not have a modem update, but keep that in mind that that could help with overall connectivity if you were having issues on some of the other devices. As far as new features, well, the first thing has to do with Siri and Siri AI. If we go into our settings under Siri, if it's supported in your specific area, then we go under Voice, Apple has added additional voice options. So before we had pace and expressivity, and we have a bunch of different voices this time. So instead of just having two voices, we have many more. So take a listen.
The colors of the sky fade with the setting sun.
The colors of the sky fade with the setting sun.
The colors of the sky fade with the setting sun. The colors of the sky fade with the setting sun.
Hi, let's find the right.
Let's find the
The colors of the sky fade with.
So we only have the option to actually adjust pace and expressivity depending on which voice is available. Some of them are coming soon, as you can see here, but we have more customization. So this will be updated in the future. And then, of course, we have additional options this time. So we have American, Australian. We also have South African, Irish, Indian, and British as well. So you have different options here where we didn't have this in Beta 3. So that's something they've updated. Again, this is only in specific areas where Siri and Siri AI is available. The first time you go to utilize Siri AI, you'll have a new splash screen or really a splash notification. You can see it here as I took a screenshot where it says an all-new Siri, search for anything or start a conversation with Siri. So that's been updated today in Beta 4. Not a huge change there, but there is some more changes. If we go into our app library, under the app library, the background is now blurred out. So if we take a look at Beta 3 on the left, Beta 4 on the right, you'll see the background has now been blurred, and it's just sort of a visual change, and you can see that with Liquid Glass, how it reacts, and it's a little bit different there. So not really a huge change, but again, Apple continues to refine overall icons and more. For example, they refined the App Store icon a little bit. It's kind of hard to tell here, but you can see it here where we have the App Store icons. They're slightly different here. If we take a look at podcasts, they've also refined these icons as well. So not any huge changes there, but again, they continue refinement. Something else they've refined has to do with the icons here, or the widgets rather, for calendar and reminders. They're now blacker or more dark. Instead of a dark gray, it's more of a black. So you can see that here side by side with the calendar widget. So again, that carries across to anything that has sort of a dark widget theme. It's just a little bit more black on specific widgets. Also, if we take a look at wallpaper, within Wallpaper, they're now describing this. So before they didn't do this, but now it's described, at least in the backend code, saying it's lustrous, sweeping titanium folds in champagne and silver tones converge into sculpted crescents that subtly trace the numerals 27 with a soft lavender undertone. So that's actually something they're letting us know about, not something you'll typically see. As far as other changes, if we go ahead and connect our AirPods, within our controls for AirPods within the Control Center, if we switch between transparency mode or adaptive, this is now all using liquid glass. So this didn't really have the liquid glass look before. So if we slide back and forth, you'll see that this has been updated. So it also has some really great haptic feedback now as I'm sliding back and forth. Now, something else that was pushed server-side last week, it seems, is where we have the new option within a website to notify me. This has now been updated where you can describe a change and it suggests those changes. And if we go to maybe edit the frequency, you can now have it as hourly. So this, again, was pushed server-side, and now you can select hourly if you want it to notify you maybe about a price drop or something else. Also found within the code, it seems that there's an iPhone with two batteries. Now that could be referencing a future folding phone where they typically split the battery between the frames or inside each one and then combine them together. So again, this is referencing something along those lines, but we wouldn't know about that until maybe the fall or later than that. But it does seem that it's referenced in the code at some point. As far as bugs and bug fixes, well, setup Siri is now missing, which is actually pretty great. We'll talk about indexing in a moment, but typically every day, if you hadn't set up Siri, or if even if you had, it would then ask you to set it up again. So that seems to be fixed. Also, if we go in and maybe copy some text. So let's copy the text here. We'll go ahead and copy this. Maybe we'll go and paste it in Notes. So within Notes, you'll see this has been updated. We now have the icon. It's telling us what it's being pasted from, and no longer just saying item. So that's been fixed and also updated with a new look depending on where you're pasting the code from or the actual URL or text or anything else. If we lock the display, some people were having darker icons down here at the bottom with the flashlight or whatever you selected. That seems to be fixed in this update. And also it seems like CarPlay should be a bit better. However, we won't know that for a few days and we'll have to talk about it in the weekend follow-up. But typically people are saying that it's connecting. Beta 3 sometimes would disconnect quite a bit. Hopefully it's resolved, but again, that will take a few days to know if it's fixed initially or if it's actually continually fixed at this point. One other thing they fixed, which isn't really a fix unfortunately, is where you had a wallpaper with a subject in it. So with a wallpaper with a subject in it, if maybe we go into music and then we pull down from the top, we thought this was a nice addition here, and it would show the subject that it recognized within the wallpaper. This isn't working in beta 4. They've actually specifically mentioned that they fixed it. I think that it was a bug before, but I don't think it should be noticed as a bug, as it actually is something people really like. So you can see it on beta 3 where it doesn't work on beta 4. So hopefully they bring that back, as that was a bug I think most of us appreciated. As far as other fixes, well, this time around it looks like they've fixed quite a few things. For example, if we take a look at their public-facing release notes, within the release notes, once they load here, I've gone through all of these, and it looks like we now have 64 categories of resolved issues. From AirPods to everything else, 64 categories up from 17 categories. And there's multiple fixes within each category. So Beta 4 is a huge enhancement over Beta 3 when it comes to that. The same is true with known issues. There's now only 21 categories of known issues, and that was before at 59. So it looks like they've resolved an awful lot of things in this update, such as AirPods Max 2, where you cannot update them. They fixed issues with all sorts of things, resolved issues with features, known issues, deprecations, Apple Intelligence Report. There's new features in Audio Accessory Kit, and again, on and on. This is many, many pages long, and if you're having issues with iOS 27 Beta 4 or iOS 27 Public Beta 2, check out these notes. Again, they're public-facing, and they're also in the feedback app typically. See if your issue is mentioned here. If it is and they haven't resolved it, then of course you know they're working on it. If not, make sure that you go into the feedback app and report that feedback. When it comes to future updates, well, based on what we've had in the past, and of course today's releases with iOS 27 Beta 4 and iOS 26.6 RC, I would expect the next update to be iOS 26.6 public release. I would expect that as soon as the 27th, next week. However, based on the past, I would expect iOS 27 Beta 5 as well as iOS 27 Public Beta 3 probably around August 3rd. That's typically what Apple does every year. We're still on a 2-week cycle, so I would expect that bi-weekly at this point, maybe until the following update. Of course, we'll have updates all throughout August with beta updates, and then a public release typically in mid-September. We may see an iOS 26.7, but that seems unlikely until around September. So at this point, after 26.6 is released to the public, I would expect 27 to be the main focus here. When it comes to if you should install iOS 27 Beta 4 or iOS 27 Public Beta 2, absolutely, if you're already on iOS 27 Public Betas or developer betas. However, as far as if you should install it, trying it out from a public version from 26.6 or iOS 26.5.2, something along those lines, I would probably hold off until the final release, or at least closer to the final release. But of course, we'll talk about it in the weekend follow-up video and see how it's going, and of course, I'll recommend it then or not. But be sure to check back for that. When it comes to performance, I'm seeing many people, even on older devices, say this one performs much better than Beta 3. Whether that's ProMotion and scrolling, or just opening apps, going in and out of apps. Let's go into podcasts. I haven't loaded that. Of course, RAM management may take some time, but that seemed to load very fast, and going into apps such as the camera are nice and fast, third-party apps seem to be fast, and everything is performing pretty well. Of course, this could degrade over time, over the next few days, and we'll talk about it in the weekend follow-up. When it comes to overall heat and thermals, I do expect it to be a little bit warm, especially since it's still indexing in the background. As long as you have optimizing search in Siri, it's going to be optimizing, working in the background, but so far it's nice and cool. Hopefully this optimizes quickly. Last time it took about 24 to 48 hours for most people, so I don't expect it to go too long. But I'm glad they're showing us, and typically they'll give us a percentage, so hopefully that returns with Beta 4. When it comes to overall battery life, it's been okay for me, not great. I'm at 100% capacity with 139 cycles as far as battery health. And when it comes to the overall usage, well, if we take a look at battery usage, yesterday on Beta 3, I had 4 hours and 31 minutes of screen active time, 3 hours and 59 minutes of screen idle time, and used 92% of the battery. So far today, 2 hours and 1 minute of screen active time, 1 hour and 18 minutes of screen idle time, and I've only used 37% of the battery. So hopefully this is a good sign with that. When it comes to storage, let's go ahead and take a look compared to Beta 3. We'll go to General and iPhone Storage, wait for it to load, and scroll to the bottom. And if we scroll to the bottom, you'll see it's taking up 36.67 gigabytes, so it's definitely taking up a little bit more. Of course, some of that's Apple Intelligence. But iOS is 16.16 gigabytes compared to 15.93 before, and then 20.51 gigabytes for Apple Intelligence. So definitely taking up a lot of room here. But again, it depends on how much storage you have. It's not a huge deal, but hopefully it gets more optimized by the time it's closer to a public release. When it comes to benchmarks, let's go ahead and take a look at that. Now, as I mentioned before, it's still running in the background, so benchmarks aren't that great. 3,839 for single core, 9,590 for multi-core. I ran it 2 times, it went down again, so I suspect, again, it's working hard in the background. But we'll give it a few days and test it in the weekend follow-up once the actual indexing is completed. As far as anything else, that's it for iOS 27 Beta 4 so far. More refinements, lots of bug fixes, but let me know if you've found any additional features, and of course if I find any, we'll talk about it in a different video as well. Of course, I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do, and if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.